that.
Okay, there we go. Starting again. It is 7 o'clock and I will call the meeting to order. First additions and deletions. Sounds like we do have an addition tonight.
Yep, so Jake came back in just today and provided some, so he was proposing a smaller lot, 2-lot subdivision last time. And I think there might have been some miscommunication on what he needed to submit at what point and going to the Board of Zoning Appeals and all that. So he came into my office today and provided some information. So he just wanted to get on the agenda today to at least just kind of continue to talk about it. What's that?
Like a sketch plan review?
Yeah, just a continuation of that. So there's no so that'd be an addition at the end of the meeting.
Okay. So I don't know if we need to do any measure. Okay, all right. So we will therefore move on to privilege of the floor. Anyone care to speak? I think everyone on here knows the rules. Ted?
There we go. Just to note that it's very impossible to see Greg and kind of a little bit hard to see Jacob as well. That's it.
Yeah.
Jake is on one end, Greg's on the other. Catherine?
Just a quick request. It's really, I'm on Zoom tonight because I've been rushing around, but I have to say I can hear and understand you on Zoom, but not in the room. So I'm not sure whether, I know one thing that would help is maybe if you know, people were able to project voices a little bit better and maybe slow down just a tad bit. When we get excited, we speak very, 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 very fast and it's really hard to understand. You know, anyway, it's just a request. Just a request. That's it.
Thanks, Catherine. Anyone else on privilege of the floor? Okay, we will move on to approval of minutes of January. No, we are in January, December. I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Abstaining, wasn't actually here.
Howard?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Nikki? Yes, sorry. Yes. Okay, town board liaison report. Per Catherine's request, you have to come sit as the speaker.
Yeah,
Well,
before you
the meeting
move
got
on,
canceled.
Greg,
Oh.
you're aware that the updated sketch plat for Waldorf and possibly other stuff on the web is the message is specified list is invalid. Not available online.
Meeting got changed. A meeting got changed from Monday to tomorrow, so don't have a lot, but I wanted to remind there was at least one person in this group that expressed an interest in helping with the beautification stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't gonna call anybody.
You're just full
Everyone-
volunteering recently.
Yeah, right, before regulatory. It might be, it might be a, excuse for a fun party or something, and we're gonna go for the money again. And this time we're gonna get it. So,
It's nice to think
that's the biggie one, but we could, get pizza, or we could have a party. And I know that there'll probably be painting stuff going on too, so painting and planting. The only other thing I wanted to mention, I don't know if anybody heard, but the Board of Elections is proposing to close the West Danby polling station because no other town has got 2 polling places, except for like Ithaca. So anyway, we're trying to deal with the fact that there is an issue with the topography. But they also want to hear from the West Danby residents as to what they're thinking, not just board members and people who don't live in West Danby. So there'll be more on that probably. I think their decision is at the end of March.
Okay,
Anyway.
thank you. Okay. We will start with the first development review at 100 Van de Bogart Road. Ray is here. We will start with opening public hearing. I think the board members are familiar with the subdivision. Taking the 10 acres off of the south end of the property for a separate as a subdivision. Does anyone care to speak on this part of the public hearing? Okay, I see no hands, no one in here. So we will close the public hearing. And move to any questions or comments from the board, or if anyone wants to make a motion for consideration of the draft resolution or changes thereto for the subdivision. Anybody?
I mean, it's the most simple version we've seen from the applicant, so I don't have
Yeah.
much to comment on it.
Okay,
I mean, if there's not more discussion, I could motion this page. Is that what the next action is?
yeah, so if
Okay.
no one has any comments or changes, we can put a motion forward to move forward with the resolution.
All right, I motion to move forward with resolution as written.
I'll second that.
Bergman,
Yes.
Colbert,
Yes.
Cowan,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Schreiber,
Yes.
yes. Yes. Congratulations.
So you're all set. So right, here's one thing.
Does he need one of these signs so that I can sign mine? and give it to
Yeah,
him?
you know, but let's actually wait. The county recently rejected a. You need to have your surveyor send me the hard copies that actually have the raised seal. The county rejected, so I made a copy of one and we signed that with ink and all, and everything, and they just wanted the raised seal. So I don't think Jackie Dresser has sent me any of those copies yet. She sent me the electric version, which we have here. So if she can just. Yeah, and then I'll coordinate with Kelly, and then Kelly will sign that. I mean, Kelly could.
I would say the
sign-
other thing is my office is right next door to them, so I could
Oh.
sign it when she seals it too. If she
Oh,
calls
perfect.
me and lets me know.
okay, so that actually worked even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with Jackie,
Kelly Maher. I don't have my card. I'll just stop in tomorrow and let her know that we're coordinating, and then she can let me know.
and then, yeah, because Kelly will then sign the plat.
If you do that before we've got meetings all morning, I'll be there in the afternoon.
Yeah, I can try.
I just, Kelly could sign this right now, but it's not the raised seal, so they kind of just might not accept that. Which makes sense,
Yeah,
they
we
kind of
both-
want the,
Never had an ask that before.
no, they won't, no.
It'd be nice to have a heads up if they're changing
Right?
things.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said that's new, isn't it?
Feels right to me.
That it has-
The raised
I
You know,
don't
it's,
think
I
I
know it's
understood
odd,
before.
it feels inconsistent, because I know that we've had the chair, you and Kelly signed, copied, plat before, but one of the approvals in the last few months,
Somebody tell.
somebody said they couldn't accept this, it wasn't a raised seal from the surveyor. So I just want to
somebody new.
maybe we just do it, yeah, you know.
So we just need to, so we probably should just do it from here on.
Yeah, I mean,
Rather than-
really the surveyor or the applicant should be submitting signed and sealed
Okay.
survey maps to me. I just used an electronic copy this time because that's what the surveyor sent, but I don't think she had mailed any in.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
Thanks for your patience.
Sorry, I'm just giving myself the calendar so I don't forget.
Thanks for doing that. Oh, yeah,
Yes.
that's good. Yeah, no, they weren't, no, I didn't get any. So, all right, we'll make sure, and then you'll send this again to the meeting. Kyle, so we'll
Yeah,
have
so
that.
you have the copy here. Okay. So we are done with that one. So moving on to 20 Nelson Road. Is that the applicant online? It's not the.
Yes, sorry. Yes. So Laura Hay, sorry, my name is Ravinder Kingra. I'm on the board of the Waldorf School. I'm the treasurer and secretary. Laura Hayes, who is the principal of the school, should be joining us shortly, hopefully. If only because I'm not entirely sure what she wants to get across. But I can talk to you a little bit about what we're hoping to do. So we're hoping to sell 2 plots of land, 10 acre plus or minus 10 acres each. One is off of Nelson Road, behind the Waldorf School, directly behind the Waldorf School, and then one is also at the so excellent. Thank you so much. So
And
one,
Laura's in the waiting room. Here she comes.
oh, okay, great. I can stop talking then.
Laura, if you are there, we just started looking at your application.
Oh, so sorry. Yes, I was
No,
just
it's okay.
home. So sorry, I missed what Ravinder already shared. Anything that you would like us to address?
Maybe just, since last time, the proposal has changed. It was a 3-lot subdivision, now it's down to 2. Maybe just describe what the intention of the school is now.
Right. So knowing now that there's the conservancy or conserved land on this one plot that we had proposed on the south side of North Nelson Road, we will not touch that for now, but would like to move forward with just the other parcel that is north of the Nelson Road, and that is now being reduced to 10 acres, so that we can,
Okay.
and that's basically our, what we would like to do.
Okay.
Zoom in on some of these dimensions. It's really hard to see.
It looks
So
like
it's a
60 at the road.
Yeah, 60-foot access point to the road, and there's no minimum road frontage requirement in this zone district. Only in the low density residential zone district is there a requirement, but not in this zone district.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? I think the one I saw, we're not there yet, but I saw on the seeker, and I was questioning from the satellite imagery, which I know is always a little questionable, but it did say yes to wetlands, but then I didn't see anything designated, and I didn't know if that was like if it was actually on this property or on adjoining property, or part of the subdivision or outside the subdivision.
Right, because there is that little bit on Nelson, that's kind of wet.
Yeah,
Which question is that?
well, it's in the back where you get to the EAF mapper. It says, yes, digital mapping information on local wetlands is incomplete. It does say
Right,
Yes,
yeah. Yeah, so this comes up, even for adjacent properties too.
that's what I was wondering if it was on this one or another.
I think.
And it kind of looked like maybe it was on the GAF mapper, but
Yeah, here, what I'll do, I'll pull up, one from last time, and you'll see there are regulated wetlands on this portion. This is a little bit garbled here. Oops. My zoom capabilities. So this is roughly the portion. Sorry, I'm zooming in. 1 second. Zoom in here. Okay. So this was that 12-acre parcel, so it's a little different, but this blue hashed area is I believe it was that's a federally
wetland.
protected wetland, or again, the maps are usually horribly off. It could be
Right.
much smaller, it could be much larger. But this is something that, wouldn't impact the division of land. It would impact anybody attempting to do something
Right,
in that area. If somebody were to buy this property, and they wanted to put a house in, I would certainly ask for, I would want to go walk the site and see where they're putting it. And then I do have a background in delineating wetlands, so I'd be pretty good at telling where the wetland is. If they are getting anywhere close, we can require them to go to the Army Corps of Engineers and then get a permit. That might be overkill for a home. Usually people should just probably move their home site if they're going to be impacting a federal wetland.
okay, that's fine. I just was clarification, because there is a lot of ponding, it looks like, in surrounding properties also. And what is the green on this one?
Green, that was a prime farmland.
Oh, okay,
Or farmland of statewide importance.
okay. It's kind of weird mapping compared to actual. Again, those federal maps. Okay. Anyone else?
I'm still abstaining from this one.
Oh,
Oh,
right,
quiet.
okay. So for today, we need to provide any comments and look at the seeker and the short environmental assessment form, and then if we don't have any comments or concerns or adjustments we want made, then we can set for public hearing at the next meeting.
Okay,
Any comments? Straightforward.
Okay. Shall we go? Oh, first we need to declare lead agency. So if anyone would like to make a motion to declare lead agency.
I'll make the motion.
Start there. Any seconds?
I'll second it.
Yes.
yes.
Abstain.
Davis?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
What resolution number is that?
2.
Oh, yeah, 25. I want to start getting the habit of getting the numbers right here, so I don't have to chase them down. Sorry.
Okay,
I think
so,
there's like carbon in the air and stuff.
Might be some carbon monoxide stuff. I think it's feeling lightheaded. Just let us know.
Got it. Thank you.
And we can contact Syracuse, Liverpool or Syracuse or whatever and find out what we should do.
Should I pull up the
sure.
short environmental assessment form? It's pretty similar. So they provided one last time. I asked them to do it again just because the last one was for 3 subdivisions. So it's gonna be very similar. I think just the description got updated, so it's not that different. Thing that I updated on this, or that I added, was for question 14. I added that there's agricultural grasslands for typical habitats.
Mm.
Yeah, not just forests.
Do you know what the SHPO check mark is for? I mean, they're not doing any work, so the
Which
really
question is that?
12B.
Good question. Are you, Laura or Dave, are you familiar? So on the environmental assessment form, one of the state,
Sorry about that. What was the question?
so on the environmental assessment form, one of the questions was asked, is the project site or any portion of it located in or adjacent to an area designated as sensitive for archaeological sites on the New York State Historic Preservation Office archaeological site inventory? Are you aware of any?
By the look on his face.
No.
Yeah, it might be an adjacent site.
Okay. But like I said, they're not doing any disturbance.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't,
I'll take a look at that. I'll
Okay,
see if
before
it's
next meeting.
something like adjacent comes up.
okay.
It still shouldn't affect the division of land, but
Sorry, I'm asking difficult questions.
that's good. Anything else in this form that stands out? Then, just, I had prepared the resolution for environmental significance. Recommending that it's negative determination, but if you'd like, I can look into that, the SHPO check mark, and then we could wait till next time to do that. Typically, the board has been determining environmental significance on the same day as the approval. This time I just thought, oh, well, why not just, we've already seen this, so why not just, have it right after the lead agency, but just maybe to get clarity on the
Okay.
SHPO
Makes
check mark, we'll
sense.
just wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we will, if no one has any comments, we can schedule for a public hearing at the next meeting, and then we'll do the look at the determination for.
Okay.
Oh wait, did we actually do the? I'm losing track. We did the lead agency,
Lead
right?
agency,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry. Okay, so we will see you in February,
Yeah.
Schedule a public hearing.
Yeah.
For,
assuming no one else has any questions or comments.
we can schedule a public hearing for February 18th. At 7, so you all will be the first up on that meeting. There'll be a
Okay.
public hearing for that. I'll send you a follow-up email just to make it clear, but your surveyor should send raised, signed and sealed surveys, 2 of them at a minimum, to my office, and then I'll have them here. And we'll provide notice for that hearing, and we'll see you on the 18th.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we look at the submission by Jake,
yeah,
which will essentially be just for comment, right? We're not taking any actions tonight.
No, no
Okay.
actions tonight. At least none that I can think of. So last time, I mean, Jay, you can kind of speak to this, but
So we went through and I had our GIS guy and plot out with GPS points, how that 5 acres would lay within like the pipeline, the wooded area, hay fields, and how it would bring everything close to this house, keep everything close to the main house.
Okay.
Then I have another one that shows the footprint and the driveway. I just didn't
Okay.
get on here. It's a 120-foot driveway, 12 foot wide. And the house will lay right next to, well, close to that one.
it's kind of hard to
Okay.
see the
Yep.
blocking. So last time, if we look at the board had asked Jake to provide a survey of the whole property with construction envelopes, and then also just showing all the other features on the property, like the pipelines and the vegetation.
Just with the cost and timing of it, there is no survey done.
Right.
Didn't know if the whole property really needed to get surveyed for the 5 acres that's already surveyed. That's on the exact opposite end of where everything else is, to keep everything clustered together without ruining the fields.
You said there's a map also with the pipeline shown on.
This one has just the markings on it, like where it goes through from corner to split everything.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
not a survey, it's really
Yeah.
just an aerial
GIS,
image,
yeah.
which I let Jake, I said to it today, I don't think that's, it shows it on the aerial, but it's a little bit different from a survey.
Pipeline's 100-foot wide measured. So
Easement.
the width of it, and then it's 1,900 and like 27 feet long across, so. You know, if I really, if you needed me to full survey, go through and spend the money on it, you know, or if this would be so.
It's fine with me to not have it surveyed. Yeah, I think, I'm just speaking for myself. Yeah, we just wanted to get the parameters of,
And I'm
you know,
fine
what
with
would
any-
be, how developable is it?
Ju-
Which, you know, seeing where the pipeline, did you say 100 foot?
Yeah,
uh,
I mean, I
Yeah,
know you can do property lines across it, but you're not gonna build on it.
right,
Right.
right. Can you show can we see the
Yeah, I can
pipeline on there or?
not on this image
Oh.
here, we can, I can pull up an aerial. So, just as a recap, right, there was a long, and it was in the minutes too, that the proposal, Jake came to the board, asked for approval as a cluster subdivision. And there was, you know, just some the board wasn't quite ready to look at it as that. Maybe it was to go to consider to the Board of Zoning Appeals for an area variance, but ultimately it was, I think the board said, well, why don't you just give us more information about where the house is planned to go, or how, what the property looks like, you know, show that it's really encumbered by all these pipelines. You know, before you all can make a determination of, can we look at it still as a cluster subdivision, or is this, or should we, you know, recommend it one way or another to the Board of Zoning Appeals? So that's kind of, that's where it was left off. I think there was just a miscommunication of when to get that information. So the timing was, Jake was going to apply to the Board of Zoning Appeals for this month, and then had come here to the board for a recommendation one way or the other, and then have gone to the Board of Zoning Appeals. But the timing didn't quite work out, so everything's kind of bumped out another month. So we're still kind of in the exact same place that,
Feels like it.
yeah, there's not much more information here.
Didn't know with the layout, if that would lean towards the cluster to get that taken care of, having everything on one corner of the property, building as close as possible, and still saving the open space.
So that,
Right.
that's my question. Can we consider this type of application a cluster subdivision? I'm for it, you know, I'm a little bit, I'm for density in some senses if we're preserving more space. But, you know, it just, whatever we decide today is what we should decide for the next applicant that just wants a two parcel subdivision as a cluster.
Yeah.
So that's where I don't know how to move forward, or.
And I know we don't have a definition of a cluster and we've done it, so that's why.
Well, yeah, we need to be consistent about
Yeah.
it, because we can't turn around if we say that
Yeah.
and say the next time we won't do it.
Exactly.
Right. We have a subcommittee that's addressing that. We're starting Thursday.
No, I'm on, I know, I'm on,
Oh,
well,
that's
I'm not
right.
on
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one,
yeah.
but I
You're on
skipped that
another one. I
side.
wish you were on the cluster.
No, you guys can figure it out. and
We
then
do.
Tell me.
But one thing I was hoping, you know, if there's any thoughts from the board in general that we could take to the subcommittee, that would be helpful. As I said in a note that I sent out, you know, the cluster, it can really be a win-win for
Yeah.
the applicant and the town. I guess one of the hangups is if we grant it as a cluster, how specific does the proposal have to be? If we say that, you know, so there's only one intended building in this cluster right now, but we'll define the cluster area. Do we have to show, does the applicant have to show where a certain number of other dwellings could be in his application? And if he does that, he or she does that, will they need to show how the septic and water will work on those? So it's you know,
It's
I don't know,
complex.
that's what we're gonna be wrestling with.
That's why I was hoping making it simple enough, keeping everything close toward the.
Well, and the other thing is, I was talking to this at the last meeting. So what, I forget, this is 70 or 50 acres?
60.
60.
Yeah. What's the difference?
So, okay, so there's 60, so that would be 6 in the cluster. Would it be okay with the board, you know, hypothetically, to say that, well, okay, if you have 6, but if you do 2/3 of the 6, then that's enough. Okay, that there's provisions made for 4.
If he has,
Only 1 or only 2, that's not enough. That doesn't, but for 4, or maybe we wouldn't want to do that. Maybe we would want the applicant to, you know, delineate 6 regions or 6 little parcels for, I don't know.
Want to keep the main farm area still farm area.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to
I know, but
subdivide it.
it's just if you sell, then the next owner,
Right.
the action, so it's
Yeah.
just, this is the part that's confusing. So, but he could subdivide 5 times under our current zoning
Just into 6
Where he
lots. Yeah.
into 6, like with the existing lot, and then there could be 5 more. So, I mean,
Would you be willing, Jake, to, I think what I'm hearing is either show where new lots would go, and then that would run with the land, like beyond your ownership. Or conversely, say, you know, almost like extinguish your development rights with this action and say, I'm gonna allow 1 subdivision here and then no more.
That's what I would do. Just so I never got no on.
or is it just a simple subdivision rather than a cluster? Maybe it's just not, oh, but the
But it's.
the initial lot's smaller than 10. is
Right,
what
so
we-
then it has
why
to
we-
go to the zoning board of appeals for the reduced
And the
area.
other downside is, you know, the town has an interest in having the open space. So if he gets a variance and it's just a regular subdivision, then 20 years from now, that could have 5 or 6 houses sticking out.
Just
of
as the,
ground.
as the landowner, your property value is
Yeah.
diminished as farmland versus like buildable lots.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
different value. So, you know, it's a big ask.
Yeah.
to say.
Board of Zoning Appeals can condition their approvals.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, because it seems like you're also forcing you into the, what happens if at some point you need to sell it and it has all these conditions, it makes it
Makes it
more
hard to sell.
difficult. Yeah, it's a hardship.
What about if 20, 25 years down the road, we desperately need housing in this area so much that every acre's
Yeah.
10 times what it is now, which means it's also taxable at 10 times the amount.
Right.
You know, it's just not affordable to own that kind of land, and we desperately need people with housing. I mean,
That's
that
where we
can
are
still be
today.
switched, right? Oh, I know, all right, we're basically there today,
Yeah.
but
We're close.
That's
in
Okay.
20 or 25 years, it's gonna be
Smaller
worse.
lot
Yeah.
for that
Right.
purpose.
So in that sense,
A new homeowner building on 10 acres is pretty hard.
Yeah.
but in that sense, it might be an advantage to have some set aside as agricultural. So that it doesn't get heavily taxed
that's
down.
correct.
So
Right.
there's a financial
Right.
advantage. That's a good point.
We are ag exempt, so I mean, right now it's,
Yeah.
I just would like rules that we have to follow. And then we don't have to worry about like
Right.
what's down the
Which ones on
road
each one
and then when we see the next parcel,
individually.
there's no discrimination or any kind of,
Yeah.
I just want it to be tightened a little
Well,
bit.
I think what makes this challenging, just that this is a bit of a stretch in that if the proposal was, I have 60 acres and I want to subdivide into 6 lots. And you know what? I don't want to have 10-acre lots because I think that's going to be unaffordable. It's
Yeah.
going to price people out. I also really want to preserve some of my farmland. I want to have 5 1-acre lots in one 55-acre lot. That is
Right.
that is an easy to wrap your arms
Yeah.
around proposal that meets the letter and the spirit of the cluster subdivision. I think it's when it becomes, somebody's proposing less than some number, like it's the sort of like the max number really, that it becomes a little bit hard because you're trying to predict what could happen and
I mean, what if it was, you know, just, it just seems like it gets too complicated, but if then we're just restricting an extra, like, this is only 5 acres, so that means if he were to subdivide another section of it, that has to be 15 or something. I don't know. That doesn't make sense. It's too, it's just complicated. It just feels complicated.
I think so
I mean, it feels,
like credits.
yeah, it just feels like a lot to now speak to all, it's 60 acres is a lot of land. We're just talking about 5, you know, I don't know. So if we just touched upon some of the 60 acres and put restrictions, then the rest is free down the road to follow the regular zoning subdivisions.
Yes, I think what right now, you could say this lot has 6 credits.
Right.
And 1 credit is being used to subdivide off this 1 lot. So there's 55 acres left on this larger piece of land that could be subdivided 5 times. So those lots would be more than 10 acres each.
Which was your argument last time. Yeah,
It's so
because it just
complicated.
works.
actually, Greg, I
this
don't
spec-
think that would ever fly.
And,
If are you saying use the cluster?
No, he's just saying if you just came for a straight subdivision of the
Yeah.
property,
I'm.
Yeah.
there would be
sorry,
5,
sorry.
there'd
That
be
was-
5 acres that
I
are more
thought
than
we were
10.
going back to where you could use the
you
cluster
could start like
subdivision.
partitioning it off like one year, one another year. Yeah, then you would get more lots ultimately.
That would just be regular subdivision according to.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So that would be
Okay.
kind of chaotic, because that wouldn't really, that
Yeah.
wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm just saying it would affect the development rights of a portion, but not the whole remaining parent parcel. That was my suggestion. I do think it's overly complicated.
So what I'm hearing, tell me if this is what I'm hearing is from the board and you, Colleen, I sure wish you were on the subcommittee.
I'm doing the other one.
Is that we should probably not leave a whole ton to interpretation on this, is that whatever we do, come up with kind of a template that we can just plug in and apply to an application, otherwise it just gets
We're gonna keep
really
having this
messy.
Yeah.
spiral conversation.
Yeah.
And
every
taking
time.
up applicants' time, our time,
Yeah,
applicants' time.
yeah,
I mean, credit seems like tangible or tactile, like something we could,
yeah.
So how are those shown, or how are they, like, is it part of, like, so that they know, like, this credits are always there, and what happens if they change? If zoning changes or something else changes and someone like, yeah, I don't care that you could do 5 more, it had credits. That's not the zone anymore, you can't do that. I know we've had those discussions too, it's like, and where is it shown? Where is it shown that they have 5 more credits?
It would be shown at as many places as possible. For the buyer to be put on notice.
and the survey.
So it would be shown on this, it would be shown on the survey of this property is not to be subdivided any more than X times.
But that it could be subdivided up to X times, right?
If the zoning changed, it would still have to follow the zoning. So let's say the
Right,
zoning
it's
was
more restrictive.
reduced
Mm-hmm.
down to 5 acres, you would have to still follow, even if the property was capped at a certain amount of lots, the owner could still argue that the zoning applies and they're entitled to more subdivision.
Okay.
So the applying credits onto a specific piece of property and having that shown as many places as possible, recorded at the county, everywhere, is only good as long as that zoning still is maintained. If the zoning changes, then you're kind of back to square one in a way.
Okay.
Unless it's unless it's some area like the Waldorf school that had that conservation area, that's separate,
That's for another day.
that's for another day, yeah, but that's not
That's fair.
about sort of your ability to subdivide land. So I just want to touch on just what is a cluster subdivision. And I know we could talk about this all night long, so maybe it's not worth going over and over and over, but I just want to refresh everyone what a cluster subdivision is. This is right from New York State Town Law 278. So a cluster development shall mean a subdivision plat in which the applicable zoning ordinance is modified to provide an alternative permitted method for the layout, configuration, and design of lots, buildings, and structures, roads, utilities, infrastructure. This procedure may be followed at the discretion of the planning board if, in the board's judgment, its application would benefit the town. Provided, however, that in granting such authorization of the planning board, the town board may also authorize the planning board to require the owner to submit an application for cluster developments subject to criteria contained. Oh no, that doesn't. Sorry, I knew that piece doesn't provide. It's basically saying if there's something specific about the zoning law that talks about cluster development, it has to still follow that too. So a cluster development shall result in a permitted number of building lots or dwelling units, which shall in no case exceed the number which could be permitted in the planning board's judgment if the land were subdivided into lots that conform to the minimum lot size and density requirements of the zoning law. So the planning board, as a condition of plat approval, may establish such conditions on the ownership, use, and maintenance of such open lands shown on the plat as it deems necessary to assure the preservation of the natural and scenic qualities of such open lands. Yeah.
So it sounds like a cluster is always tied to
Open
open
space.
space.
Yes, it is. The purpose is it's
Right.
twofold. It's to reduce infrastructure costs
Yeah.
and to preserve open space.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Which I mean,
That's what
he's
asking.
asking
Yeah.
is like specifically doing the density. Yeah.
Yeah, preserve what the town wants. Close to the road, close to my house, open property. I feel like it fits that to the T. It's not like it's way off in a single corner, way away from the other property or other house and.
Right.
Everything close, tight. to the road, and power lines are already there. So that's why I wanted to go that route.
So it is possible, you know, to do it in just a 2-lot subdivision. But not really very common. You know, usually this is done by developers, may have a big piece of land down in Westchester County and they want to maximize their profit but preserve,
Yeah.
you know, the planning board says, well, we want you to preserve this whole open space. You know, that's how it's usually exercised. In these instances, it's just very rare. But it's possible. I wonder what conditions, if this is the way the board would go, what's the balance? Where, how does it benefit the town? And to ensure that that is you know, carried.
I mean, I guess you could like condition that. I don't know, would this carry over if I came back for subdivision in the future that like X percentage of the property would have to remain undeveloped? You know what I
The
mean?
board could absolutely condition.
Like
that.
you could say like, yes, you might come back for another subdivision of 5 more properties, but even if you do that, you have to keep 75% of the 60 or 55 acre lot undeveloped.
That would sign right off.
Where's that number come from? I don't know, I'm just made up.
Right, I feel like we should figure out what the number would be. I'm not strong at math, but we should figure out what
Right.
that number would be that's equivalent to 5 acres.
Right, like if
The
you
percentage
made
of
like
5
another
So
5
5 acres out of
Yeah.
60
Out of
or out of
50.
50?
A lot, didn't you say you have?
Or is it
Yeah,
now out of
60
50?
total, it would
It's
be
out of-
out of 55 remaining. The 55 is what's left, there's 60 to start with.
Wait, I feel like this isn't hard.
You're saying
So if you
You need
had,
a math
5
efficient.
divided by
5 times-
55? Like 9%? Is that what you're talking?
well, 5 times 6 would be 30, right? So
What do you?
that would, but
What's
that
the
would be
total?
like 50% of the total lot if you did 6 5 acres. Or no, it'd be 5 and then a bigger one. So it'd be 25 out of the 60.
Also the cluster.
If you did all 5 acre lots.
I lost it. Yeah.
Yeah, what are you trying to figure out here?
I don't know anymore.
I love that. So
All
just-
5 acre
Kind of a
lots.
math problem.
I think I took it as if
I see.
you develop the whole property in with 5 5 acre lots and then the parent left over. Then you would have 25 acres. That are individual 5 acre lots, and then you would have. What is that, 30, 45?
I think
what,
it-
35
so
left
the
over.
parent lot,
Cluster would be 25 acres.
Yeah,
but the parent lot only has the subdivision rights of a 55 acre lot now.
yeah, if you take the 5 out, the 5
Yeah.
off,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or, well, no, we should say a 50 acre lot then.
right, at 50, because it would be.
Does that
10
make
acre
sense?
divisions.
Is that? I am
Yeah.
not good at this one.
Yeah, because if you took the 10 required off,
You could also shift these credits around too. I mean, so this property has maximum 6 credits. And there's 2 subdivisions happening, or a subdivision happening right now. It's
So
2
using
lots.
one, so we're down to
It
5.
doesn't have to be 1 and 5, it could be 1 and 5.
yeah,
I mean,
Sorry.
what's the difference?
Yeah.
I mean, like, we think that that smaller lot, we just, I think naturally think that that smaller lot is 1 credit. And then the 55 acre balance has 5 credits,
Right.
but those could be switched. That's
Oh.
an
Or
extreme
some other-
example.
right.
Basically
Yeah.
saying the 55 acre lot could never be subdivided, this 5 acre lot could be subdivided into
5 1
4
acre
more
lots.
lots, yeah. It's a process, I know, other towns, that's what cluster subdivision the planning board can do, is they can just kind of shift around.
Right.
Where your credits go.
So mostly what we need to do right now is address what he's asking to do, knowing what can happen potentially.
Right,
We've done it in a way that it works. That's what it sounds like to me,
Yeah,
in the future, because it's not all happening now.
right, it sounds like there could be some balance, I mean. With what Jake wants and is also willing to offer. And, you know, there might be a balanced approach to this that that the town does benefit by retaining a large tract of open space while still preserving some development rights of the property owner, you know, in the future, if that was ever a case. I know right now you're saying that you don't want to, but who knows, what if, you know, things might change 20 years down the road and something. So.
Can we go ahead with Jake's proposal that no matter what, you're gonna be fine building, and then see how the subcommittee works out, and maybe we can, you know, ex post facto, make it a cluster. In other words, he's not in here saying, you know, I wanna develop the whole parcel, you know, and I wanna do it soon. So why can't we just say, go ahead, it may end up being a cluster, it may end up being, what, standard subdivision or whatever. That way, you don't like that idea?
Well, we'll have to go through a variance process for that.
Yeah.
You can't leave that up in the air to that degree.
I feel a little weird that we just had a project that we turned down and they had to move toward
The
10 acres. And now the very next project that we review, we're doing basically the same thing that first person wanted to do.
But they
Doesn't
didn't,
seem
they weren't gonna
quite
develop.
legit.
There was no development on that one. That was the difference.
Were they gonna sell it or something?
Yes.
Selling a portion off.
Right, so then the next person would decide what
They were farming it, yeah. They wanted for the land for their cows.
Well, I think we kind of gave him the option, but then he didn't want to wait.
Because we kind of did this to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the irony in that is that he really wanted to preserve it for a farmer, for somebody to buy it as a farming, and now there's a lot line encumbering the farming operation, and now they have to figure out. And he was worried that the deal might fall through for them because this person was. So I thought there's a little bit of irony there about
Right.
large lot zoning.
Yeah.
But I think there's value in what you're bringing up. It is the
Which is
difference.
why we need to
is-
figure it out because
Yeah.
it could happen again.
But there is a
shortly.
little
Be
bit
the
of
next
a difference,
application.
just in that, I'm not saying it makes it a better application, but, Ray's application, he wasn't proposing a new house, it was.
Yeah.
Here's an existing farmhouse that he just wants to carve out. And then, this one actually could fit more in, it could fit more into a cluster development consideration because it is raw land, and then the owner's considering having a new home that could be more in a clustered scenario. It still looks, very, very similar. I'm just gonna provide that comment. It's just a little bit different.
Does anyone mind if I call on Ted? Ted, did you have something? I know you've been waiting a long time.
Thank you.
I wanted to make sure we were at a little conversation.
My attention was originally caught by some of the things that Scott was saying, but what Greg said also sort of bears into it. A cluster subdivision, as Greg said, is setting aside the normal rules of the zoning. And it should be for the benefit of the town. The only way you're going to know that is if the applicant for a cluster subdivision submits along with the cluster subdivision application, a plan for exactly how the cluster is going to be. In other words, where are the lot lines going to be? Where the house is going to be built, which demonstrated that it is preserving open space, which is a town goal. And it is also a cluster, if you will. I'm just saying, because it's not, after all, like put the house anywhere you want subdivision. So I think Scott was onto something there. If you get into mathematics and calculations and stuff, I think in the long run, you'll just be creating a problem. And whoever suggested along in the middle there, that, okay, if there are 6 credits, well, all 5 of them should go with the 5 acres and the 1 with the rest, and that would satisfy it. That would satisfy me too, but I don't think that that would be fair to the people doing the subdivision. So I like what Scott was saying, where if you want a cluster, you have to submit your cluster plan. And that is what the planning board decides is or is not in the best interest of what the town would like to see happen. That's my point. Thanks.
I mean, I guess if you. Can you submit a plan for future subdivision without subdividing?
Yeah, so maybe a hybrid of that, because I'm thinking about the Waldorf School, go to that, but they did carve out this area called conservation area. It can almost be something like, this is the developable area
Yeah.
of the property. And that
right?
runs with the land and every document we find. And then this portion of the property is for agricultural use. Or whatever use
Yeah.
they're open. That might be more of a hybrid where it doesn't put so much burden on Jake right now to think about future lots, and then
Right.
if you know, sort of tying him up in exact lot configurations, but basically saying, yeah, this is the area for potential a cluster development, or more housing that meet the zoning. And maybe there are, you know, a certain number in place by the planning board now, saying up to 4 more homes here. And
That
Ted,
seems to
can
make a
you
lot of sense.
mute? We're getting
Sorry.
some feedback from your, thank you.
Yeah, that seems fair. It seems like that they're not, they have the same amount of rights as they would have under a cluster subdivision. We have what we want, and in terms of property value, it's also good too, so open space is valuable, like, to communities, so.
What, I
Like, it
mean,
doesn't
which
seem
we
more
can
restrictive
really
or
do
less.
on the, I mean, we can do that on a lot of subdivisions, and we choose not to, is determine what the buildable area is gonna be versus open area. Because we've done it on some others.
Down, just to show you where.
But I do
Yeah.
think we
house
need,
will be going in as soon as.
Well, yeah,
we
but I
get
mean,
this
we're
stuff
talking like beyond that 5
No, that's
acre, yeah.
I'll keep it close right there if you did
Yeah.
that.
I think we still
Get
need a
closer
survey though,
houses.
because it needs to be recorded with the survey, right?
The 5 acre part has to be recorded, I think, right?
I mean,
it
no,
needs to
the
be-
preservation part would have to be recorded.
Yeah, it
Oh.
doesn't need to be on a survey.
Okay,
As long as there's a nice clean map of it.
okay.
So, and I guess before I guess what I was gonna bring up is, Jake was looking at your property here. Is it something like, I'm just spitballing here that this, sorry, sort of like this kind of, no, sorry, I don't have my GIS up, but basically I'm throwing out because it looks like this area is kind of fallow, not really used.
Yeah, that would be the area I would do it.
So if you were to say, and I know the proposed lot line kind of cuts back into here a little bit, but, and that's, maybe that's fine. But if it were to be, this area, you know, is called developable area, and then the remainder is left as open space, ag, and however it's supposed to be. Is that something that seems, and I guess for both of.
To satisfy the cluster, yeah, for sure.
Wait, but he's still, then he's giving up his development rights. If.
Yeah.
Where could the other,
It would be right in here.
oh, all fit in that?
Yeah,
All
basically.
fit
Oh,
in
I'm
that
just like
block.
not picturing it. Yeah, you need a small. Got it.
I
Yeah,
don't want to sell
got it.
another lot, another 2 lots.
Yeah,
He could, you know, I guess I don't know what the acreage is. I'm just guessing that if this was a 5 acre lot kind of up here, I'm guessing this is probably at least 3 acres maybe in here.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. That's a little deceiving.
Yeah, so I mean, here's the existing home.
I literally forgot that it doesn't have to keep being 5 acres, like the
Oh,
cluster,
yeah.
we could go smaller. I just
Yeah.
spaced
No,
out
just
how that
rest of
works.
it,
Yeah.
For sure. Sell just one giant one, if I had to.
Joel, did you want to say something?
Yes. You know, I don't know if you realize this, but there's not, you can cluster without subdivision. And that's yet another complication here. And we did it on the Hoffman Carlson property on Bruce Hill Road, where there's now provision for 5 future, I think it's 5 total dwelling units on close to 100 acres. But you know, there's an envelope where they can be located. There's a specific plan for what they would be, but without lot creation. So I'm hoping that when we deal with this on Thursday, we can come up with something which is sort of global in its scope and covers all possibilities, and creates a set of rules, as Colleen put it, that would cover all possibilities. And I think we have a shot at it, but because it's, you know, there are a lot of considerations here that are really hard to deal with without some guidelines. And you know, and the fact that you can do clustering without subdivision, you can do it with subdivision. There's this whole thing about, you know, what's the minimum number in order to call it a cluster, and we might be able to circumvent the whole thing by just changing the whole framework. But
You guys want fun on Thursday?
Yeah, speaking of which, I don't think I have that Zoom meeting, so you'll have to send me that.
I did today.
Oh,
You
okay.
should have it. You should have it.
Is that Zoom meeting posted on the website?
It doesn't need to be, it's not, that it's
Yeah,
not,
it's a subcommittee meeting.
I mean, I do think that's one of the points that I'm unclear on, because right now we're talking about all the remaining 5 units have to be part of a cluster. And I don't know why that would be. Like, why can't he have 3 in a cluster and then the rest of them can be larger lots?
Right.
yeah. No, you're absolutely right that could be a scenario.
Okay.
Computer just went blank. Is everyone still?
So
We're
Jamie, you're
moving.
saying-
We can still.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think they
still
just
with me.
froze.
No, it's me. My
Oh.
computer just went totally. haywire.
Oh, I see.
So say a 5-acre section was personally, you're saying why not allow 3 in there and then maybe a little bit more parceled off on another 3-acre contingents or contiguous parcel. Yeah, those are the things we'll have to, and there'd be limits to that. You know, because at some point you start working around, you're working around the zone, which is not allowed.
Right.
Yeah.
How
So
do
we
we,
just need parameters.
how do we get through this today?
Yeah.
It sounds like we,
Where's the conclusion?
it sounds like we determine, which Jake seems amenable to, a buildable area on the lot and designating a portion or the remainder as strictly open area. And then that'll all be recorded and that would be the restrictions on the property. It limits, you know, obviously you have to consider for yourself, you know, what limitations that gives you in the future.
Like the 3 that you came up with, and
Right.
you could do the 2 biggers.
Right.
Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, because what you're proposing, yes, could work.
Mhm.
That 3 could be clustered and 2 could just be regular lot zoning kind of, but it seems that we're kind of narrowing in of what might make more sense on this parcel, and Jake seems willing to have sort of a carve out, whatever that acreage comes out to be. And you know, it can be, and lot lines I mean, it can get really nuanced, that lot lines can even extend outside of this development area, like this proposed one is. But this is like the development area, where if you want any, and it could be conditioned like, this is where if there's any future homes, you know, even if the lot is, Yeah, I think I might be making this more complicated.
Oh.
I'll leave it up. Yeah.
I
Well,
see your logic, but man,
no, it gets a little complicated. It gets really complicated. I don't want to go into that.
So it really will depend on how it is written.
Yes, exactly. And I
Well,
I will likely, I will likely run some of this by Guy.
Right,
Yeah.
good idea.
Sorry, I'm just to be sure that,
I like that.
yeah,
I'm not going to pitch it as, what do you think? I'll have like pretty specific questions. This is it seems that the board is comfortable using the cluster subdivision in a way on this property that defines a development area for potential future development. It doesn't set exact lot lines. That seems totally in bounds. I think just what needs to be determined is, and this is where I mean, if you all have suggestions right now, but what is the condition? What needs to be transcribed on the plat, in the approving document by the planning board, possibly in the deed on the property? It's something that runs with the land, even if it's through the clerk's recording, town archives, something that can be put a future buyer on notice very clearly. Whereas we can use that Waldorf School example, where the planning board was very clear they wanted a conservation area, but they weren't clear enough to say exactly what it was to be conserved for. And I know that's a little bit can be debatable depending on who you might ask, but the advice from the town's attorney, was it's gray enough that you can't start saying it's to be conserved in such and such way 20 years later. It's clear that where the area is, but what it is to be conserved for is unclear. And it could be argued in court. So if the board wants to be very clear about what this area should be developed for or not to be developed for, then I think that needs to be further thought about. This is what I'm trying to get
and
at.
articulate it,
Yeah,
right? Articulate it
exactly.
carefully.
And
So,
Yeah, so Guy's opinion on that language would be good.
yeah,
Or the general, not his exact opinion on what we're doing.
No, on like
on-
how to define open space or
Let me
conserved
just-
space,
let-
sorry.
Well, yeah, let's just start here, just so it's not so open-ended for him that he's gonna start kind of tugging and pulling on things that, might send it in a new direction. Are there certain thoughts right now beyond just saying it's the future development area? I mean, are there other?
The only thing, which obviously we'd have to do is if we had a future development area that would accommodate 5 dwellings, the planning board has to make sure that it can accommodate 5 dwellings, that there's no wetlands there or whatever. That's the only thing I would,
Oh,
think we would have.
Or like a 100-foot easement running through it.
Right. It's no
Yeah.
easement in
Right.
there.
It's on a side, it's on a side hill and it's unbuilt.
Yeah,
like that.
100% grade
Yeah.
there, yeah.
But
Yeah.
other than that,
I mean, I guess I would lean toward, if it's within I mean, I guess when you're doing a cluster, you're kind of outside of the zoning at that point. But I guess, like, my brain initially goes to, well, what are the restrictions of the zoning of that area now? Like, whatever is in there would be restricted to those same uses as what the zoning would have been had it not been a cluster.
You're asking if it's a cluster development area, is all of a sudden the zoning thrown out the window and it opens up?
Well, I guess in writing it up for what it should be, I would think you would try to stay within the lines of what it should have been to begin with. So like, if you're only allowed single family residences under
You're gonna put
that
a bar.
zoning code, then, and not, yeah, and not a bar and not a,
Yeah.
not a
no,
commercial property and not a school, then like that is where I would start and probably try to limit the allowed building types or whatever to be in that area.
Keep the
That's,
residential.
Yeah.
it's a good, like thing to bring up, right? And so that can be made sure it's kind of, it could be, is this just to be used for single family residences? The board could even say, you know what, all the new units all need to be in one big apartment building. I don't think the board's gonna say that, but cluster subdivision can go that pretty
Or
extreme.
side by side. You know, can you do two that are attached
You
and
could have
another
3
two that are
townhouses
attached?
and then another single family house, and that would be all of your 5 buildings, if
Yeah.
that's what you wanted to.
What you could do is may not require it, but you could allow it.
Right.
You
Right.
could say.
We could say this
this
is what's
area-
allowable in this area.
This lot, you could have up to X number of units, whether they're attached or detached.
Yeah, because I've had a couple people talk to me recently, well, kind of in my age group or above, where there's one spouse and there's people that have passed and they would really like to live side by side. And I don't see a lot of that housing.
Well, that happened on King Road there, short of
Yeah.
that went to
Mhm.
King Road, the corner of King and Sandbank, that's what they did. They built
Mhm.
that mother-in-law suite right next to
Right,
it.
right, and there aren't,
Cluster subdivision.
there's not a lot of that now.
Right.
So,
This person was asking me if I knew any places, and I said, "No, I think I know one house downtown."
There's one on Nelson.
Yeah, but there aren't many.
Joel,
And then I guess,
I built one, that's when we first got here, it's like a townhouse, but they're rentals, but technically you do the same thing, where
Mhm.
they each have a door, but you're obviously right there next to the
Yeah,
person.
yeah, which is
Which
nice,
is nice.
that to me is
yeah.
senior housing,
Trying to
Yeah,
wait till
no,
no one
great.
else is talking, no, calling somebody.
so I'd like to see some more of that.
So it sounds like residences at least, and, of the zoning. There are uses that are allowed in the zone district by site plan approval. I could certainly ask Guy how that, again, and then if in 5 years the zoning changes, I think you'd still go back to whatever the zoning allows unless it was. But that's the number of units. The uses can be restricted via this vehicle. So I think maybe just give that some thought between now and the next meeting of, do you want to cap it so much as really being specific on the type of uses? Or is it just whatever the zoning allows and it doesn't even need to be stated? How detailed do you want to get in these conditions? Is it just to be used for, what I'm getting at, just be used for residences in the future, or could it just follow whatever the zoning might allow? Or is it something else? And same goes with the open space and ag areas.
Right. And I guess my hesitation there is to say only ag, because it's hard to say what
Yeah.
the future is gonna hold in terms of, viability of land use, and that it might, it could not be ag and it could be, I don't know, like game land, or, that the fields start to grow up into forest land and then it becomes just like, I don't wanna say rec land, but like
Yeah.
places people can go use trails or something that, it's not developed with building structure. Which I think is harder to define. But I would hate to restrict it to only ag and then
Yeah.
like soil quality crashes, or we start having 120-degree summers every summer, whatever the case may be.
Below zero winters.
Right, yeah.
Can I ask about a scenario, because I'm a little bit confused? Like, let's say we have a 60-acre parcel and the owner wants to cluster 3 5-acre lots, let's say. So then you have to reserve open space. But let's say with the remaining 45 acres, they still have 3 units possible for development, right? So let's say that they wanted to split that 45 acres into 3 lots. That's not possible, right?
Yes, it is.
Oh, because where's the open space then?
Well, I think there's a few things that, would need to happen. The board would designate, I guess, let me back up. If the board just said, this 45-acre parcel can be subdivided up to 3 times, and that's all that condition said, then that would be it. Then so somebody could subdivide it into 3 times, and the open space would just inherently be that these are just
Big
3
lots.
15-acre lots or big lots. Alternatively, the board could say, kind of like right now, you can have up to 3 new units or new lots, and they have to be in a specified area, and this other area needs to remain as open space.
Right, so that's what I'm just a little bit stuck on, like, it seems like when you do those 3 5-acre lots, you have then 15 acres that should be open space. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And then,
Wait, say the math again. I'm gonna be getting. I'm gonna be caught up in math.
Right.
so 60 acres, you
Yeah.
have 3 5-acre lots in a
Okay.
cluster.
Yeah,
You still have 3 units that you can develop. But you could also say that because you only use 15 acres, that 15 acres should be conserved. Like open space, I don't know, like in perpetuity. And then you have 30 acres left to subdivide into 3 10-acre lots.
if that's the way the board wanted to condition it, that would be allowed. I guess I'm still struggling with what the question is.
The conservation space, I guess, is not clear to me. It can be on private lots, and it's just, they can only develop 1 dwelling, so there's gonna
Sure.
be a lot of open space. Is that what you're saying? That's where the open space comes from?
Yeah, but in this instance, with, I think what we're looking at now with Jake's proposal is
Yeah.
defining an area that is.
I get that.
This developed area, and then this area needs to remain open space. So that open space, whatever it comes out to be, let's say 50 acres, just to keep it clean, then that will not have
Buildings on it.
the buildings on it. Does that help to?
In this case, I get it. I
Okay.
just don't get it in the next case.
And then that's nice in terms of if, I think what it comes down to is the board has to just be very deliberate with working with the applicant to just be clear on what the outcome needs to be, and really it's an opportunity to exercise planning, I think, in a way, like the planning board did in 2006 for the Waldorf School. They said, sure, we can modify the standards and allow 4 clustered lots. The balance is that we have this conserved area. And that ran with the property and everything to the fact where 20 years later, we're looking at it and the board is considering it, has to sort of honor that in a way. So if the board at that time had just said, okay, this area can just be developed into no more than X number of lots, it is kind of vague what conservation value is being kept there. And I think that's the answer, is that there wasn't a conservation value. It's just leaning on the fact that there's just larger lot residential in that area where it's more private conservation, or you hope so. So I think just the board has to be very deliberate. If the goal is we want to conserve open space, preserve open space, then that needs to be delineated, preferably in meets and bounds, and called out in all the approving documents and everything that gets recorded in here at the town. Does that help?
Yep. I mean, I just think that if I own a 15, sorry, everybody, I know you want to go home. Just one scenario would be like, I'm a homeowner, I buy one of those 15-acre lots, I just tear down all the trees, build a giant swimming pool, and pave a bunch of it. I don't know, like, what are my restrictions, you know?
There wouldn't be any unless the planning board had restricted one of those lots with a conservation area from that approval of that lot.
Okay.
And then if they were
You had
found,
3 here and then 15 here, right? You're saying you'd have like 3 smaller and then 2 larger?
Yeah.
So like originally, if we said as part of that, before they did that subdivision, you had to keep all of this open land, and even if they got one of those 15, they wouldn't be able to develop that part. Which I think is kind of what we're trying to do here, except we're not drawing all the lot lines, and we're trying to keep this as the only development area.
Okay.
I think.
So if you defined that, if we defined that open area, then even if they bought that 15-acre lot, they'd only be able to develop this part of it.
Okay, so no swimming pool up there?
Nope, you don't get to put your swimming pool over here.
Now, and that.
Sorry.
And that goes, and then that goes back to enforcement, which, so if then somebody bought, and it's 20 years in the future, and somebody bought one of those lands and comes into our office to apply for a building permit, it would be on the town to make sure that we go back through old records and we find this conservation area and say, okay, you can have a house, but not in this back 40. And you can't have your swimming pool, and you can't cut down the trees. But and that's where it's important that that conservation area, however it's described, is very clear about what it's being conserved for, which is what the unfortunate part of Waldorf School is, that they weren't entirely clear. Maybe the board at the time was clear in their heads of what it meant, but they didn't transcribe it on paper to where our attorney thinks that it's airtight. Thinks that
Because
there's a little bit.
you're not saying what actions are okay in there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rhonda, you've been patient. Sorry to keep you waiting.
I just want to say that I object to, I object to what, Greg is proposing, and he's proposing that he go to Guy and talk to Guy. And what he's proposing is basically that the town assume the legal responsibility for this, and that the town assume the cost of consulting with an attorney on behalf of the property owner. And I feel that's a thing that the town really shouldn't be doing. It's up to the property owner to go to his or her attorney and consult on how the plot can be divided into making a cluster. Because in 20 years, let's say, if the property isn't built on, and then somebody says, well, 20 years ago, the town told me that I could divide into a cluster by doing X, Y, and Z, and that person's attorney says, no, that's all wrong. Then all of a sudden you've got a lawsuit. It's the landowner that really needs to be going to their attorney and taking on the cost of the attorney, not the town.
And I'll comment on that. I think Rhonda does have some good points there. I mean, so I think in all, though, it's going to balance out that Guy would be involved no matter what. So if Jake, yeah, ideally, private real estate attorneys are helping landowners in these development applications and proposing something. That's something that my planning court always talked about, is that we feel like we were in the position of helping applicants design approval applications, and we're always told, you know, it really should be on the applicant side. I think what happens, though, is that even if Jake were to go hire an attorney and hire a designer and they propose this, I would still run it by Guy. Because of a situation like the Ithaca Waldorf School, where they placed a pretty clear conservation area, and the town's attorney is saying, well, hold on, not so fast. We're not really entirely clear what that means. So I would still be engaging Guy, I guess, no matter what. And I don't think this is doing Jake's legwork for him. I actually am getting some pretty clear enough direction from the board that is saying we're willing to entertain a defined, delineated development area for specified uses. And we want to get, I just want to hear from you, is that we want to get Guy's feedback on making it airtight. I always use that word, so that in 20 years, when that new landowner, if there is a new one, comes to town, it's not that the town told them so, it's that it's very clear in writing, it's on recorded documents, at the county. And then their attorney can then hash it out with the town if there's any, you know, discrepancy or something that's unclear.
Yes, I understand that you weren't going to Guy on behalf of Jake, you were going to
No.
Guy on behalf of the planning
Of the
board.
Yes,
town.
exactly.
Of the
That's
town.
trying to set,
Yeah.
we're trying to set our parameters.
Yeah,
And
no.
not just this applicant, future applicants. And also to the point, it would be helpful we serve the town. It would be good if, as the town, we could give our applicants and give people more direction. So if we knew what our parameters were, they might have a better sense of how to present to us and not have to come extra meetings and spend extra time. I mean, it's all of our time. It's our time, but it's their time and it gets expensive on their end.
Exactly, and so let's say there's another proposal like this at some point in the future. The board can look at this case and say, well, here's what we did on this one, here's the language we used.
Yes.
To put on this subdivision map, and it got blessed by the attorney. We don't even need to engage the attorney again because we know that it works.
Exactly.
And there we go. No, I would be only engaging Guy for the town because after seeing that Waldorf school, it's kind of unfortunate that it sounds like the planning board went to a lot and they worked with the property owner and got to a nice place. But it wasn't clear enough 20 years in the future.
So do you think you have enough direction? Okay. You guys can work.
Yeah.
We're making your future job easier too. As a board member.
You might, I'll try to put this in writing to you later, for this week to get to you so that it's clear. I think what would, I know you don't, you're, surveying the whole property might be overkill. I think getting the area that is delineated for future development, that might be the medium, because having those in meets and bounds, like how surveys show, this many degrees to the south and all that, having that shown is clear enough that a future surveyor could shoot a line very clearly of where the lines would be. So I think that might be the balance versus you getting a whole survey done for the whole property. It's get a survey done of this developed area.
Okay.
Anything else?
So the goal is to be airtight on all these things.
Yeah, and then it's
And
much as we
clearly
can.
written as much as we can.
clear,
Yeah.
and it gives notice to future buyers of what they're getting in, what they might be getting into.
Which I think is also helpful to the buyers,
Yeah.
to not put a lot into something that there's no way.
Yep.
It's gonna pass through what we've written.
Right.
Yep.
So I will have an updated map. We'll have some delineated areas, open space, developable area, with maybe some suggestions for what each is used for. And then I think from there, the board can push and pull on some of those. Does that sound?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the rest of the process for continuing down the cluster
Yeah.
in terms of what we have to do we have to do public hearing? Do we have to do preliminary and final? What are all
Well,
I forget, sorry.
no, it is, yeah, it still follows the subdivision process because even beyond just this developable area, there is a subdivision proposal in it of that smaller lot. So that would still follow notice requirements and hearing.
So our next meeting would probably be preliminary, so we could comment on fine tuning the language, which should then get you to up in March, could possibly be a public hearing and a final review if we feel like we're clear after next month's meeting.
I think so.
Okay. Okay. Just so Jake kind of knows the
Yeah.
timeline too.
Yeah. Yeah, environmental quality review would have to happen at that point. So anything else with that? Okay, I'm not missing something here, because Joel did bring up that cluster development process. The last time the board did that, they required the applicant to go through site plan as part of that, but there was no subdivision proposed. This one's a little odd because there's a subdivision and there's an area that might extend out, so.
And
I-
maybe parallel.
Yeah, they might be parallel, right? So I'll get some direction on that, or if it's just the subdivision process. Either way, I think that the timeline of definitely reviewing it, the meat of the review will be next time. If we can get an updated kind of map by then.
Okay. All right. Any planner report?
Oh, I'll keep it pretty brief. We're at 8:30 here. So. As you all saw, so right Christmas Eve, the town was noticed of the award, the $4.6 million to construct a sewer and wastewater treatment plant here in the hamlet and down in West Danby. There are a lot of outstanding questions about that, and the town board will start discussion on that tomorrow night. I'm just reporting on it because a lot of the questions I'll have to help answer in terms of other funding sources that can be looked at to cover the $1.5 million gap to construct the whole system. What does forming a sewer district look like? At what point does the sewer district need to be formed? So for right now, it's still very much, the town hasn't accepted the award yet, and it might still have some time to do so. These grant awards typically don't get, the contract doesn't come out for many months, so the town has some time, I think, to figure out if it wants to accept the award or not. So I'll be helping the town board out on that. The Design Connect project is the go on the old Dobson property.
Good.
Yeah, so everything's working out with that. We had our first meeting with the students last week. This is to design a hamlet scale kind of neighborhood on the old Dobson property. And so that's planned to start off here in the next couple of weeks once they get a team.
For like a PUD.
It would, I mean, maybe, but it might be able to fit in the zoning. The zoning allows the development. So with that, I might, there'll be community forums, community meetings, design charrette, things like that, nature to get people involved in. The Regulatory Review Committee, so it's a committee of some of your colleagues here and then some of the town board. We had our first meeting earlier this month, and we have some subcommittee meetings meeting every couple of weeks, and just to see, are there certain amendments that should happen in the zoning law and subdivision law that could be passed on to the town board for recommendation. We are going to be hiring a consultant soon to manage the CDBG homeowner housing rehabilitation grant. So if you recall, the town was awarded $700,000 to continue the low moderate income housing rehabs done, just like the one that was awarded in 2022. So we've got 10 more days left to hear from consultants. So the town board will probably be picking somebody right after that. And yeah, it's just lots of little things. We might apply for the beautification grant, so a small pot of money from Cornell Cooperative Extension to help paint the gazebo out here and update the planter boxes. If you are a gardener, want to help, please let us know. We're looking for volunteers. And I think that's generally about it. I'm looking at some other business assistance grants to maybe help out businesses here in the hamlet. That's kind of at the earlier stages. It was suggested by my predecessor, David West, because he's managing one out in Geneva. It helps provide reimbursement for small businesses, and it's state money, so the town just kind of gets funneled through the town to help businesses with inventory, rent, salaries. So the idea might be to apply for 4 businesses. 50% has to go to startups. So we're hoping there might be some startups in the near future. And
I know, because
So-
do we even have four? How many?
Well, so we have two here, and
Yeah.
it can be townwide. I mean,
Oh,
so
town,
I
just-
would,
I'm
I would
thinking
put
of- yeah.
put out, you know,
Cool.
just to get people interested. So that's, I haven't even brought that up with the town board yet, but there's just a grant out there that I might look into to see if I can actually take that on.
Cool.
That's pretty much it. Any questions?
Thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned. See you next month. Stay warm.
Yeah, tonight's the bad.
Yeah.
Ah.
This is
It's
the,
freezing.